Hello and welcome to everybody. So welcome to the EIB Academy for Microfinance Academy, also SME Banking. And we're going to talk for 2 days, and we hope we will be able to share knowledge and experience, all of us. So we're going to do this exclusively online. And the organizers of this event have decided to do this online. We hope that we will all be able to do the necessary today, and tomorrow we will welcome all the people who will participate in this, as therefore you will not be limited by the technology. We are thinking of the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises who need creativity in order to continue. And we'll look to see what it was able for them to do. The speciality of this is the first academy which we have held for the African region with the European Investment Bank, particularly in Côte d'Ivoire. And through a series of panels, we'll be able to talk about the creation of this sector in that particular region of West Africa. We are going to, first of all, talk about the EIB, so that the participants are able to express their needs, and we will have a discussion about. We have a session then which will be a roundtable on the first panel. We will be able to have a lunch and network break to encourage the participants to talk with each other. So the panelists also can, members of the panel can give their views and share their knowledge and their experience. After this, we will have another second panel about perspective of the financial institutions themselves. At the end of the day, we will have a survey, a poll, and a discussion with the audience. And then that will be the end of the first day. We can have a free discussion of what we've heard. This is a whole program which you have in front of you. Thank you for being with us here. We have very important, major regions represented, and high-level members of various organizations, European and otherwise, talking about improving access to finance. So I'm going to hand over now to I'm going to say hello to Jane Feehan to present. She is head representation for West Africa of the European Bank for Investment, and Jobs von Kirschmann, who is ambassador of the of the EU. So Jane has worked in a variety of roles within the EIB. She has worked on natural capitals. So Jane Feehan has worked in the European Bank for the Environment and for the protection of the environment. She's from Ireland originally, and she's worked at the University of Oxford, at Imperial College London, and at Trinity College Dublin. So, bonjour Jane. Hello Jane.
Merci Hanan pour cette introduction. Excellence.
Thank you Jane for this introduction. Your Excellency, members, ambassadors, members of the Untitled Chapter, representatives of the central banks, Mr. le Vice-Président, dear friends, hello and welcome. So here in Abidjan, we have Obst von Kirchmann, who is the ambassador here in Côte d'Ivoire for the EU, and Mr. Abdelkebar Benkrem, who is coordinator for WO, making finance work for Africa in Côte d'Ivoire. And we're very happy to welcome you to this event. This is the first time that we are having this event. We've done so in South Africa and in East Africa. That is the first time that we are doing it in Central and Western. We have professionals of the sector to have exchanges about technical knowledge and to give us information about the private sector in Africa for clients who are present clients and future clients as well. The Academy offers a forum, and we have a particular focus on access to finance for the micro enterprises and the small and medium enterprises. So for these last years, physically, this year we have a virtual format for our event. Therefore, the offer of the Academy has evolved. We have participation, which is much wider, and geographically speaking, much wider. We have interactive work. And we can talk about banking reform, and we can talk about also allocation of independent funding and encouraging participation. And we can talk about business operations. We can promote the promotion of women's questions and women's business plans, amongst other things. And we have experts on these various subjects, and we have also regulators who talk about this. So we're particularly happy to have the government of the Central Bank of Ghana, who is with us, who is going to talk about the banking in Central Africa, Special Advisor, the Governor of the Central African States. So for the virtual format is going to allow us to focus on subjects which are necessary to us to reinforce the specialized skills in a more flexible way. We are in a large virtual conference hall, and it's difficult to look around us and see who's here. But just we have about 900 thereabouts participants in 35 countries, or banking centres. 20% of the institutions of microfinance have been registered into this program today. And 20% of the governments of central banks, governors of central banks, we have represented in this virtual conference with delegations from African countries in this region and ONGs as well, non-governmental organizations, who have put their trust in us to help them and discuss with them today in this academy. West Africa, Central and West Africa are very dynamic regions. There are major conurbations, international ones, and we have historical commercial centres and financial centres as well are present pretty well everywhere. So we can do business through this, through this diversity of opportunity. There are responsibilities in the sector to go in sustainable directions. And in fragile regions, we need to do the necessary. When there is conflict, also, this sector has key roles to continue and to promote and to create opportunities, commercial or otherwise. The Academy is an important opportunity for us and our partners to think about how we're going to ameliorate our offer in order to fulfill these needs and improve access to finances in these conurbations. So we're trying to find means of making women participate better, so gendered participation, and have green finance participation, and measures of these nature will help us to develop the products which we have rolled out in the various countries. So we are trying to create more sophisticated products so we can make the participation of these groups much better. We are also trying to combine these lines, thematic lines of credit. So thanks to the European Commission, we are trying to cover a part of the portfolios, the financial portfolios, and this will allow the banks and others to attenuate a part of their risk whilst optimizing their impact in the regions. My apologies, but the screen has frozen. Well, it seems that the connection with Jane Phelan has become interrupted. We're trying to get the line back. So she was talking about this representation of the BEI into all these aspects which we have spoken about in West Africa and Central Africa. So I'm told that Jane is back online. So over to you again, Jane. Okay, so thank you. So hello again. So to return to what I was saying, we'll talk about we are trying to intensify our finances in aiding access to finances, not sort of operational funds, but also we also want. And really, I would like to talk about the importance of our work in microfinances. The institutions on the investment funds for microfinances. So since 1919, we have invested heavily in this region. So, dear friends, in order to finish, just the agreements. So this academy has given us the opportunity to listen and also to try and understand our offer of how to show how we can work better with our partners to improve things for us. So I'm very pleased to officially open this academy. Yes, thank you very much, Jane. So we've had one or two problems. You've heard Jane expressing what we were trying to do in this academy, and really we're talking about the role of the EIB in the region as regards SME banking and microfinances. So our next speaker who is going to talk to us is we have Jobst von Kirschmann, who is ambassador of the European Union in the Côte d'Ivoire. He was trained in France and in Germany. He did studies there. So he's also expert in strategic thinking and finance. He's worked at the European Parliament, and he's talked also about the internal market in the European Union, and the links the EU has externally, particularly with Africa. So he has contact with the regions we're talking about today. So he's worked also. He's been as head of department in the Middle East for the Bank of Development. So before joining this delegation, he looked after departments which were. So thank you very much, Jobst von Kirschmann, for talking to us today. So hello, first of all, to my fellow ambassadors and colleagues. And I want to thank the European Bank for Investment, which is an important part of the European Union. And we have learned much from Jane Vina, who's just spoken to us. And of course, I want to talk about the finance work for Africa. So thank you, making finance work for Africa, and thank you very much, thank you greatly for these important contributions you're making. I'm going to come back to what needs to be done, but of course with the European Investment Bank we are working really narrowly, closely together, and I would say that our approach in Europe is very important to carry out major projects in the region. As an ambassador, I'm often said the European Union has lots of funds. Can you do anything at all to change things in various countries? So, of course, we don't transform things. It's the private sector who's going to do this. And the small and medium enterprises, when I think about the case of the Côte d'Ivoire, they are represented by the small and medium enterprises. It's not. So we're talking about 20% of the countries in the private sector who can do this. The key of any transformation of the economy and of society is in small and medium-sized countries. So in order to give our support to the small and medium-sized enterprises, it's less a question of money, but some more. The reason for this academy is because in order to ameliorate things, we have to create an environment around the activities of the small and medium enterprises. So I can give you one or two examples that I've seen for myself. There's quite a lot of risks and viability of prices for small, medium enterprises. It's much easier to give lots of money than it is to give smaller amounts of money and supervising what happens to it. We also have a problem with the small and medium companies. I've noted that it is very difficult for a small enterprise to make a business plan, to do the accounts, to present something to us. It's not automatically a skill that they have. It's complicated for the private sector, which need to have information on how to fill in forms and that sort of thing. Donc, the capitalists prefer lend money to people who want to borrow money. So we're noting here that we have here an investment climate. Also, I would like to talk about this. We note, for example, that we have a justice system which is not 100% robust. Am I not going to be certain of getting my money back? And it's the same thing if we're not certain about the ownership of the land is in question, then this is difficult to manage. This means that today we have not necessarily attractive offers to make to small and medium. As we have costs which are involved, and so these small and medium companies can become discouraged. So I'm coming back to what I was saying at the beginning. It's really good that we have this academy now because we can explain not only the banks, the governors of the banks, of the European delegations, the agencies, a multitude of actors. And this is the key to the solution, because it's not a question simply of credit lines. The solution is more likely to have a holistic approach and complementarity, whereby the financial institutions, like the European Union, for example, you can have the agencies, you have the private sector agencies, you have the private sector itself, and intermediate organizations. All of us, we need to work together. This is what's the way to go. We need to reassure that there is a calculated risk, certainly for them, but we need to give support to them and settle this with the various governments as well. So if we turn up with lots of solutions, and here in Côte d'Ivoire, for example, there are many solutions. We have a project called Investir Ensemble that's investing together. There's already quite a lot of credit lines and funding sources. But what have we done? We have helped with these projects, and Côte d'Ivoire PME, we have created the means of presenting ourselves to the bank, to help with the formalities, to fill in the forms, and to inform them on the existence of what is already available, because that is something important in itself. So with the Federation of Enterprises of the Côte d'Ivoire, we give them particular training, how to do a business plan, how to put together a company even. And maybe these small enterprises do not have this knowledge on this. So we have gone into a dialogue with the government through the intermediary, chambers of commerce, for example, and we have looked with the enterprises to see what is not working. Then we went into a dialogue with the government, and we said to look to see what was not working and make things better. It could be taxing, it could be import regulations, a whole lots of things which we can talk about, but we're talking about the climate for investment as well, and these are three elements concerned. Thereafter, we can reassure the banks. You see that all my colleagues who are from the European Union are familiar with this, but so we can talk about the Fund for Sustainable Development, European Fund for Sustainable Development, and then we can help the banks, particularly with guarantees, commercial, non-commercial, private sector, to lighten the risk. And we do this in many things, in energy, in sustainable development, all sorts of areas we can work together. What does this mean? It means that we have the European 50 billion euros, and we hope that we will be able to provide loans to these small and medium-sized enterprises, because we're taking the risk away from the banks themselves. So what I'm trying to say is that we need to work around the financial products in order to create an environment which is proper for the small and medium enterprises. Help them in creating their financial arrangements, and also to maintain a political dialogue with the government. And if we work together, I'm certain that we will manage to make our investment better in a shape which is much more favorable towards investment. So I think that, as Jane was saying, this is the first time that we're organizing this. Academy is being organized by the European Investment Bank, but I'm sure it won't be the last time we do so.
Many thanks, Joms Kirschman, for reminding us about the relevance and opportunity of this virtual academy, as you've stated, in order to improve, as we have said the conditions for development of small and medium enterprises, and also to ensure the banks which are masterpiece in that development for the small and medium enterprises. So now I will give the floor to another of our speakers. I will now introduce him straight away. This is Abdelkader Ben Brahim. He's the coordinator of the partnership Making Finance Work for Africa, and up until June 2020 was charged of the development of the financial sector for Making Finance Work for Africa, the head of the pillar for inclusive financing, and its main aim was to promote inclusion of financing and development in Africa with lobbying and influencing policymakers in favor of the development of the digital economy. And also he coordinates some support actions for the Making Finance Work for Africa partnership with affordable housing and also with funds transfer. Before joining this partnership, he worked for World Affairs in Canada, where he had the position and when supporting the development of technology and communication in the office of President and Minister. And Abdelkader Ben Brahim has a master's in digital innovation in the London Schools of Economics and also political science management, and also a master's in engineering from the Ottawa University. Many thanks for being present amongst us, and I'm happy to give you the floor for your official opening remarks. Many thanks, Annan, for your warm introduction. First of all, I would like to salute Mr. Ambroise Fayol, Vice President of the European Investment Bank, and also Mr. Jean Van Kirchmann, EU Ambassador in the Côte d'Ivoire, and Jean Fian, Head of EIB Rep Office for the Côte d'Ivoire. Dear ambassadors, dear excellencies, heads of European delegations, I would also like to greet the presence of Dr. Ernest Addison, Governor of the Central Bank of Ghana, and also of the governors of the Central Bank of Africa, and also of the Central Bank of Democratic Republic of Congo and the Central Bank of West Africa, States and Senegal. Dear guests, it's an honor and a privilege for me to take the floor with such distinguished professionals in finance, distinguished guests in development in Africa. Before going any further, please let me wish you all from Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire, in the name of the the Making Finance Work for Africa Partnership, a warm welcome. This virtual meeting is a positive development in the relationship between the EIB and the Making Finance Work for Africa Partnership for the development in the region of Western and Central Africa. I would like to remind you that the European Investment Bank is one of the main strategic partners for the partnership Making Finance Work for Africa with the African Development Bank, which has been working alongside Making Finance Work for Africa since its creation, and other partners such as the German Chance Agency, GIZ, Agence Française de Développement, African Bank. It has played an important role in its partnership with making sure that Making Finance Work for Africa becomes a platform well known in terms of coordination in order to help its coordination and development in Western and Central Africa. Aside from being one of the initial members for this partnership, our collaboration with the AIB covers also lobbying, capacity building, research, and competencies and skills in order to foster economic development in Africa. For the third year running, Making Finance Work for Africa has contributed to the publication of the survey from the EIB, which highlights the recent developments in the banking sector in Africa. We have also supported actively the EIB Academy and the Banking Forum within the technical assistance programs from the EIB, as well as the thematic webinars before this event gathered more than one participant in the financial sector from the public sector, private sector, and development agencies in order to talk and share some knowledge on relevant topics and current topics of particular importance for the Western and Central African regions. In the future, Making Finance Work for Africa intends to carry on with this relationship and partnership with the EIB and other reputable partners, so that this development could lead to more money in terms of climate change, dealing with climate change, dealing with youth unemployment, dealing with gender questions. And on the basis of our new strategy, 3-year strategy, our main orientation is based around 4 particular pillars. First of all, strengthening the capacity of women, youngsters, and small and medium enterprises thanks to innovative solutions and alternative funding. Secondly, promote the principles of sustainable finance and the best international practices in terms of the climate change in the African sector. Third, increase the financing of trade and commerce in order to support inter-Africa trade and international trade with Africa. And finally, foster the development of financial markets with the team that contributes in financing some productive and sustainable investments in the real sectors of the countries. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the Banking Academy this year is facing an unprecedented situation due to COVID-19 and climate change. And these such impacts from COVID were absolutely massive. We feel that GDP will go from $173 to $236 billion, and the growth rate should drop by 3.4% in 2021, as we are starting to foresee the start of a recovery where there is still much uncertainty regarding the pandemic and how long this economic recovery will take. And we know that structural changes that will result on a long-term basis. The impact was severe and for the small and medium enterprises in Western and Central Africa, with some countries which have recorded an increase in credit in the private sector, and a lot of small and medium enterprises are saying that their wishes to receive some funding is refused in that context, and we're aiming to support such loans in order to help small and medium enterprises to overcome the impact of such pandemic. The crisis has also caused some major changes for the management of companies, and it has accelerated the digitalization of services already in place before the crisis, of which the adoption was pretty slow to start with. We have assisted the financial institutions and the think tanks to lead to more innovations. In the meantime, fostering financial inclusion. At Making Finance Work for Africa partnership, our strategy is to continue tackling these challenges and also help for some more efficient interventions. Another phenomenon with some potential applications that will have a massive impact on the ecosystems in society is climate change. Many countries in Western and Central Africa are already hit pretty badly, especially with droughts in many countries and irregular rain patterns in Western Africa, and lakes which are getting drier and drier, as is the case with Lake Chad and Fleuve Niger. Aside from the impacts, the environmental impacts, many African countries will have to adapt their infrastructures, their current infrastructures, in order to reduce their CO2 emissions and meet their objectives as per the Paris Accord. This represents a major challenge for the continent, which for decades has seen a deficit in infrastructures. And in this context, many African countries are struggling to meet their goals. With these enormous needs in development, the financial sector has an important role to play in order to ensure an inclusive and sustainable recovery. As for the sustainable financing, banks are more and more aware of the risks generated by climate change. So Making Finance Work for Africa concentrates their efforts in supporting the financial African sector alongside our partners, in helping our partners overcome these challenges, and also in meeting the Sustainable Development Goals in the post-COVID crisis. As for the long-term development and the long-term financing, we highlight the fact that we need to deepen the domestic markets through knowledge sharing And we will also identify our efforts in order to integrate sustainable financing in our activity or programs so that we will place the financial sectors at the heart of the climate action. With our partners, we plan to initiate an evaluation and assessment of the needs in the big countries, followed by a series of programs in capacity building aimed for different groups, including for the regional and national development banks, financial institutions on the integration of the climate change problematic and the management of the risk management in this context. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I will conclude my intervention by highlighting the essential part of making finance work for Africa partnership, which offers a unique platform amongst the different stakeholders, private and not private sector, and in mobilizing internal and external financial mobilization and the partnership for positive ends in order to increase and accelerate the economic development on the continent. Our main aim is to see together how we could dynamize the financial sector, and I hope that at the end of this meeting we will have some proposals coming forward to initiate future projects. And on that note, and in the name of the Making Finance Work for Africa Partnership, I wish you a very good virtual event. Many thanks. Many thanks, Mr. Ben Brahim, for this introductory remarks and for reminding us of the objectives and mission of Making Finance Work for Africa, whilst reminding us the particular challenges that the regions that we are talking about have to face in this AIB virtual meeting, especially with the health crisis and the climate crisis. And I also thank our two other speakers for their official opening remarks, and which have set us the context for this virtual academy. So many thanks for all your words so far and your proposals. So we'll carry on with this program for this virtual academy with a short video that I will now play for you. And this, in fact, is to do with gender finance, and it was prepared by the European Investment Bank. Let's play this for you straight away.
Ma grande sœur, elle est quittée en Côte d'Ivoire pour venir au Mali ici. Donc, elle a commencé entreprise ici. Elle nous a appelés, nous sommes venus ici pour les aider. Jusqu'à aujourd'hui, à peu près 20 ans aujourd'hui, on est en train de faire la teinture ici. Au début, c'était 15 personnes. Et maintenant, à peu près 100 personnes. On a commencé au début petit à petit. Après, on est arrivé, on a entendu que Kafo Djigné donne les prêts aux gens. Donc, on allait chez Kafo Djigné pour demander le prêt. Ils nous ont donné 10 millions de prêts. On a commencé avec ça. Jusqu'à aujourd'hui, on a 150 millions.
Au Mali, plus précisément dans la capitale, le défi pour les femmes dans le cadre de l'expansion de leurs activités ou du développement de leurs activités, ça c'est l'acquisition des financements, surtout des financements adaptés à leurs activités ou à leurs activités d'expansion ou d'agrandissement de leurs activités. Donc aujourd'hui, c'est ce plus grand défi que les femmes, à Bamako plus particulièrement, c'est le défi à relever pour les femmes.
Quand on a commencé avec Café Djigné, on est en train de travailler ensemble, on est grandi ensemble, on a construit. Il y a d'autres qui vivent avec nous ici. Si on a construit une maison ici pour les tapers, les teinturiers aussi. Donc il y a des teinturiers, on a donné, ils sont mariés ici. Donc ils vivent avec nous. S'ils sont malades, on nous soigne, on nous donne nourriture, on fait tout ensemble. On est devenus comme une famille.
nouveau partenariat qui va être noué entre le CAFO et la Banque européenne d'investissement va permettre de financer plusieurs activités, plusieurs associations, surtout des associations féminines. Ça va nous permettre aussi d'accompagner les jeunes qui sont à leur phase de démarrage et qui n'ont pas pour le moment accès à des financements pour pouvoir démarrer leur activité et qu'ils auront besoin peut-être de financement à long terme.
Grâce à la Banque européenne et CAFO, nos entreprises ont grandi jusqu'à aujourd'hui.
Merci à tous donc pour votre attention et merci
Many
encore
thanks to
d'être
you all
avec
for
nous
your attention
pour
and many thanks for
cette
your presence amongst us
première de l'Académie
for
virtuelle
this
de la
very
Banque
first
européenne
virtual
d'investissement
academy
depuis la
for the
région
European
de
Investment
l'Ouest
Bank
et du
from
Centre.
the
Je tiens
Western and
encore une
Central
fois
Africa
à
region.
remercier donc
Once
nos
again,
premiers
I want to
intervenants
thank
de la
our first
matinée,
speakers
donc
this
cette
morning
première séance
for this
cette séance
first
d'ouverture. Jane Feehan,
opening
chef de la
session.
représentation
Jen Vihan,
régionale pour
head
l'Afrique de
of the
l'Ouest et de
AIB
l'Est, de la
Representation
BEI
Office
en Côte d'Ivoire,
in
Job
Côte
Van
d'Ivoire,
Kirchman,
Job Van
ambassadeur de
Kirchman,
l'Union européenne
EU
en Côte d'Ivoire, et
ambassador in Côte
Abdelkader
d'Ivoire,
Brahim,
and
coordinateur
Abdelkader
de
Ben
Making Finance Work
Brahim,
for Africa,
coordinator for
qui
Making
vont donc
Finance Work for
présenter
Africa,
chacun à
who
leur
have
manière
presented in their own way
spécifique
in their
leur
specific
vision pour
way
cette
their own
académie
vision
virtuelle
for
ainsi
this
que
virtual
les
academy,
différentes
as well
réalisations
as the
de leurs projets
different realizations
à leur
from their
échelle.
project
Juste
at
avant de
their own
poursuivre la
scale. Just
programmation
before
de
going any
cet
further with our
événement, je vous
program
propose
for
de
this
marquer une
event, I
petite pause, une
will
pause en
suggest
quelques
that we
minutes.
take a short break,
Alors ne partez
10
pas,
minutes
restez
break.
avec nous car
Please
dans
don't
quelques
leave us,
instants,
stay
dans
with
quelques
us, because in a
minutes
few minutes, and
nous aurons
we
donc,
will
dans la
have
seconde partie de cette séance
in the second part of this session an opening speech from the Vice President of the European Investment Bank, Ambroise Fayol, who will then mention especially the commitment of the European Investment Bank in financial operations in the Western and Central Africa and its technical assistance program. So please stay with us, and I will be with you very soon. Thank you.